Hi, I'm Troy.
And I'm Vickie.
And we are Empty Nesters Wine. Welcome back to Empty Nesters Podcast, episode 17, Pumpkin Spice Wine. How many people out there do we have that like the pumpkin spice? Not me. But Vickie likes it, so she decided to come up with some pumpkin spice wine. A few years ago, it was a big hit, and we're making our first big batch, and some hilarity has ensued.
It's a learning curve, that's for sure.
Hey, make sure you like and subscribe this YouTube video. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, like our Facebook page. As I've stated before, Facebook is really our mode of communication. That's where we usually put everything out on. We're also on Instagram, and I try to throw some stuff up there sometimes. Vickie, this is going to be interesting, guys. Listen to this. Vickie, what kind of wine are we trying today?
We are trying Snowy Peaks Boucherville.
What was that? One more time?
No. I'm sure I butchered it.
Our awesome producer took a little trip to Estes Park, Colorado last week, and he thought of us, which warms my heart and makes me happy. He thought of us, and he picked up a couple wines for us to sample on our podcast, and one is this Mourvedre, I believe it's pronounced, Mourvedre. It comes from grapes mostly from
France, I think.
France, yeah. So anyway, I'm excited about trying it at the end of the podcast. Yes, this is Troy. My voice may sound a little different today. Thank you, Vickie, for giving me a head cold.
I know.
And yeah, so if you notice, Vickie might be talking a lot more than me today, just depending on how I'm doing here. So anyway, into the Pumpkin Spice Wine podcast. Vickie loves the fall. The fall is her favorite time of year.
It is my favorite time of the year. If it could be fall and spring all year long, I would be so happy. But, I love the decorating part of it, apple cider, mulled wine, the leaves changing colors, the fact that it's not super hot, it's not super cold, and I love going to the pumpkin patch. I've always loved going and picking pumpkins and bringing them home to decorate with. So, a lot of people really like pumpkin spice this time of year, and so I decided we should make a pumpkin spice wine, even though poor Troy, he hates pumpkin.
I don't like anything pumpkin. Pumpkin pie, pumpkin bread. The smell of pumpkin makes me kind of sick. Pumpkin is just not something I believe was meant to be eaten. Carved? Yes. Eaten? No.
Yeah, and I just picked up some pumpkin donuts yesterday at this fall festival we went to.
And that's a snack that she doesn't have to worry about me getting into.
True.
It will be there until she eats it.
So a few years ago, we made a pumpkin spice in a small batch, and several people really, really liked it. So we decided to try it on a big scale, which we'd never done before. Yeah,
it's really cool. We did get a lot of really good comments on it, which I was concerned, not just because I don't like pumpkin, but because that's a bold move, which you got to make bold moves sometimes, and it's either going to be a success or a failure. Look at our front door when you come to visit Empty Nesters Winery. We made a bold move there, and everyone says they love it. But anyway, so the pumpkin spice, it was a bold move, but we got a lot of positive comments on it.
So most of our wines, we usually need about 200 pounds of fruit to make. And so we thought, okay, we'll go get 400 pounds of pumpkin. And so we called the pumpkin patch and let them know we were coming on one of their less busy days. And they took us out in one of those utility vehicles. And we had to pick pumpkins that weren't my normal type of pumpkins to pick. I love going out there and finding the warty ones and the ones that are like
the ugly ones,
unique colors and different things like that. But when you're making pumpkin spice wine, you want something that's more in it for the the meaty part of the pumpkin and easier to work up. So she took us to this one part in the patch that she thought would be great for that. So we loaded up this utility vehicle with all these pumpkins.
Yeah, and we grabbed all the good-looking pumpkins, but Vickie couldn't help herself. She still grabbed a couple of the warty-looking ones.
Yes, I did. And so, we went and checked out and put all the stuff on the scale, and it actually ended up weighing 472 pounds.
We thought surely we have plenty to make 2 batches of wine.
Yeah, something like that.
So
Saturday we set out to start making wine, and we figured we'd make half of it. Or we'd try to make the whole thing, but if we could, we'd just make half and do one batch. And so we worked up pumpkins, and it was taking forever. We ended up working for 8 hours straight to work up one batch or half of the pumpkins. And we had plans that we had to wrap up for, so we just kept going. And we only ended up having enough to make half of one batch of wine by the time we got done with
half of one batch.
Yeah, half of one batch. But it was going so slow. We had to break out the Sawzall. And so we're in there with this Sawzall chopping up this pumpkin so we can get it so that I can peel it. And then we can run it through the juicer.
Yeah, I was just sitting there juicing pumpkin, not paying attention to anything else. Just my whole world was right in front of me, that juicer and all these pumpkin pieces I was putting in it. And I didn't realize Vickie was over there with the knife trying to cut these pumpkins, and it wasn't going well for her.
No, I ended up with quite the blister and a couple cuts on my fingers.
So at some point she says, we should use the Sawzall. So we had a brand new blade. We sanitized the whole Sawzall, got it all clean, and went to town cutting it up like Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
There's pumpkin pieces flying everywhere.
But it worked.
It did.
It did work.
So after we got 8 hours worth of working up half the pumpkins, we still had just half of a batch of wine. But
and we had some plans that night, so we had to stop.
Right.
So otherwise we probably would have had a 12 or 14-hour day and worked everything up. But
yeah.
We had to stop, so now we have half a batch of pumpkin wine and a bunch of pumpkins that we still need to go work up. It's just,
Well, lucky for us, they're not like all other fruits that go bad really quickly.
right.
So we have time.
So yeah, we got that half a batch, and then we had to put the the stuff in it, the sugar and everything, and put the yeast in it and get it fermenting. And normally, I'd say on average it takes 5 or 6 days to ferment a batch of wine.
4 to 6 days.
4 to 6. So we put the yeast in Saturday.
Yeah, we put it on Saturday.
And then every day I'll go up and I'll stir it and I'll check it out and see where it's at. So Sunday was the first day, and I went up and I stirred it and I checked it out, and it seemed to be working out really good. Monday, day 2, I went up and I stirred it and I checked the alcohol level in it, and it was done fermenting in 2 days.
2 days. Which is funny because we had a batch of apple that we'd started the week before that was taking its sweet time fermenting, and it was still fermenting.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of us. We started remodeling our building 3 years ago, and I've seen places around here that started construction after us, completely built and opened. And here we are still just kind of chugging along. That's that apple wine.
Yeah, well, good things come to those that wait.
There you go.
So hopefully by this time next year, we will be opening up that pumpkin spice wine and serving it.
Yeah, if it tastes as good as people have told me our small batch tastes, then if you like pumpkin spice, you should like this one. It was a lot of work going into this one, but hopefully it'll pay off with a delicious tasting wine. So if you come to Empty Nesters Winery and try our pumpkin spice wine, just know that there was a lot of work that went into that one. Carrying those big heavy pumpkins around the pumpkin patch, which we were in a little vehicle, so that helped a lot. But loading them in the car, unloading them from the car, it's not like a case of blueberries, which weighs maybe 5 pounds. These things are probably 30 pounds a piece.
Oh, yeah, probably.
And cutting them up, we didn't really go into detail with that Sawzall, but oh my gosh, that was crazy. Just cut it down the middle, and then you just cut it into slices. And yeah, at one point I put on eye protection. It was flinging everywhere. We had it in our hair, all over our clothes and our shoes, and it was very interesting.
Yeah.
But it's working now. Actually, it's done fermenting and it's aging. So if it ages well, we'll have some awesome pumpkin spice wine for next fall. Okay, well, I think that's going to do it for today's podcast. Check in next week. We're going to talk about our pets, the pets of empty nesters. You've heard our dogs probably on a couple of our podcasts, shaking or barking or scratching at their collars, jingling. So anyway, we thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about some of our pets. So, Vickie, tell me again, what kind of wine are we trying?
Why do you do that to me? I have no idea how to pronounce it.
Mourvedre.
Mourvedre.
Mourvedre wine. And Robert, our producer, says that this is a drier wine, but it's not real dry. It smells very good. It smells very fruity, very grapey.
Not super oaky at all.
Yeah.
It's got a slight oak to it, but not a lot.
All right, to taste. Robert was right. It's on the dry scale, but it's not like that dry where it just dries out your whole mouth. It's really good. It's got a really good flavor to it.
I'd say it's on the drier edge of a semi-sweet, somewhere right in the middle.
Yeah. It's definitely something that I could find myself drinking.
I could even find myself drinking this one, and I don't really care for very many dry wines.
Snowy Peaks
Most
Winery.
of them are way too oaky.
Snowy Peaks Winery in Estes Park, Colorado. The Mourvedre wine. If you're ever up in Estes Park, check it out. Thanks for joining us. Join us again next week. We'll be talking about the pets of empty nesters.